What's going on, guys? It's your boy the Markham Knight. Today's video is going to be about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This will not be a review movie video like I did before. This is going to be about my expectations for the Marvel Cinematic Universe moving forward. I'm going to start with one of the movies that I'm really excited for, and that's Thor Ragnarok. Reason why I'm excited for these movies is kind of funny because it's very different from the other Thor movies, or at least it looks very different. And from what I've heard from people who have seen it, friends of mine, they said that it might be the funniest Marvel movie. They said it might be the most fun Marvel movie. You're going to really enjoy this movie from start to finish. It's a good popcorn flick. So that's going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to kind of play like Guardians of the Galaxy in a little bit of sense, kind of the feel that it gives you. We do know Hulk will be in this movie. We do know Doctor Strange will be in this movie. We know that Hela is going to be the villain. For those of you who don't know Hela, Hela is the goddess of death, and she's the bringer of Ragnarok. For those of you who don't know what Ragnarok means, Ragnarok is basically the end of the gods. This is the Norse gods in Asgard. So I'm guessing Hela comes back and she tries to take out everyone in Asgard, and Thor's gonna have to put a team together to try and stop it. And I think that team, we've seen a little bit of it in the trailers. It's gonna have Doctor Strange, it's gonna have Hulk, it's gonna have Loki is going to be back, and Valkyrie is going to be in this. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see that play out. It's going to be that team dynamic of them not working all together and then kind of bringing it together in the end. Kind of maybe a Guardians feeling about that. But it does look really good, and I really want to see if Hela becomes the next memorable villain. The last memorable villain that Marvel really gave us was Loki, and I laughed a little bit because the actual movie the actual franchise Loki's from, Thor movies, and also Hela, who might be the next big thing, are the ones that are kind of lacking the most, in my personal opinion. I don't think the Thor franchise is keeping up with the other ones as well. I do feel like this can kind of turn it around. I don't know if they're going beyond trilogies for Thor and Captain America and some of the other characters, maybe Iron Man just because he's Iron Man, but it'd be interesting to see if Hela kind of brings it back and this movie kind of turns it all around. Next movie I'm going to talk about is Black Panther. Black Panther, I just did a trailer reaction for it a couple of days ago. It was a really good trailer. The trailer I saw in Comic-Con at Hall H was really good as well. It really got me into the character. In Civil War, I was not excited for the Black Panther movie. That's primarily because they didn't really do the character justice. He had these weird moments where he'd stare off into space and tell either a story or have like a profound insight that he'd try and offer up. And it was not an interesting character for me, even though his story seemed interesting. His dad died in Civil War and he has to be the new king of Wakanda, and he's kind of representing his people. And that's an interesting story. There's a lot of kind of parallels to that story. And in this, Michael B. Jordan is supposed to be playing someone who's fighting him for the crown, which looks really interesting. I am glad Michael B. Jordan is getting another chance to kind of do one of these movies because he is a good actor. If you've watched Creed, you know that he has the chops for this. Fantastic Four was a bad movie, but that doesn't mean we should write him off. Just like the first Fantastic Four wasn't good, and Chris Evans is now Captain America. So he's getting his chance, and I really think he's going to deliver. It looks pretty good. If I'm just going to compare it to something, I would think it's going to be like the Aquaman movie, because Jason Momoa said that Orm, who's Aquaman's brother, Ocean Master, he's going to be fighting him for the crown. So that might play out a little similar to this. So it would be kind of cool to see the kind of parallels and which direction they go with for both of these. But it does look really good. It looks really interesting. Next movie I'm going to talk about is Avengers Infinity War. That was the next movie that was announced on the slate. That's been something they've been building up for years and years now, maybe since I think it was the first Avengers movie. They've had Thanos kind of be in cameos here and there. He was also in the Guardians movie. I was in Hall H. I did see the thing that they kind of put out for it. It was very early on, you could tell, but it looked really cool. The Guardians were in it. The Avengers were in it. Pretty much everyone you could think of outside of the X-Men because of Fox were in this, and they're going to go up against Thanos. For those of you who don't know anything about the Infinity arc that was going on, the event that happened in the comics, Thanos basically is in love with Lady Death. This is not to be confused with Hela, who is the goddess of death. This is basically death for the entire Marvel multiverse. It's one of the beings, it's an entity, and Lady Death is someone that Thanos is in love with, and he wants to impress her. So how does he impress her? he wants to gather all of the in the comics they were called Infinity Gems, in the movies they're being called Infinity Stones, and he wants to put them on the gauntlet, and once he gets the gauntlet, then he is going to be basically he'll be all powerful, so he can kind of do what he pleases with it. And I feel like he's going to try and kill the Marvel Universe to kind of impress Death, and that's going to kind of play out that way. Now, we don't know too much details about it. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know more of the storyline. Basically, what we have to go off is what we've seen in the comic books, and that's about it. Next thing I want to talk about is Ant-Man and the Wasp. I did not watch Ant-Man. Ant-Man, to me, seemed like a decent enough idea. I really like Paul Rudd. I thought it was probably going to be a funny movie. I watched a little bit of it. I couldn't get into it. I fell asleep a couple of times actually trying to watch it in the first half hour or so I did not watch it. I am going to watch it right before I watch Ant-Man and the Wasp. I did see a trailer for that when I was in Comic-Con, and we do know Michelle Pfeiffer is going to be in this movie in some capacity or another, and we know that Thing is going to be taking up her role as the Wasp. So it is going to be interesting to see. We don't know really anything storyline-wise about it. Next movie I want to talk about is Captain Marvel. For those of you who don't know Captain Marvel was actually a male character and the female character takes it on, but this portrayal is going to be of Carol Danvers. Excuse me. It's going to be of Carol Danvers, and she's going to be basically taking on the role of Captain America in the sense that she works with the government. This is going to be kind of a prequel to the MCU. It might even be a little bit of a Nick Fury story, because I do know that Samuel L. Jackson is supposed to reprise his role as Nick Fury. In this, he is going to have both eyes. He is going to be a little younger. I don't know how well that's going to play on screen, but it's going to kind of be a little bit of his story, and she's going to be working with him. And the thing that I'm most excited about for this, the Skrulls are supposed to be in this movie. This is set back in the 90s, so we know it's a prequel. It's going to be interesting to see, because the Skrulls in the comics, they were responsible for an invasion, and it took a lot of different superheroes to put them together to take them down. But I'm guessing Captain Marvel's supposed to do this on her own. Her and S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm guessing. So it's going to be interesting to see, one, how they do this, two, how they hide it. I'm guessing because it's S.H.I.E.L.D., they're going to find a way. Maybe they're going to start invading a town that's lesser known. It's not going to be as big as New York for the whole world to be put on notice back in the 90s. But it is going to be interesting to see how also they basically make it so that Captain Marvel didn't exist during this entire time, and they didn't need her help for the Avengers movie, what happened in New York, or anything else moving forward. So maybe she's just doing covert ops for the government. It's going to be interesting to kind of see that play out. With Wonder Woman being as big as it is, I am interested to see kind of this can call and follow suit, and female superheroes can kind of be a big thing. That'd be really interesting to see. Avengers 4, let me just scroll up here. Okay. Avengers 4 is going to be interesting. It used to be called Infinity War Part 2. They now changed that to an untitled Avengers 4 movie. It's interesting to see that they changed it from that, because realistically, I don't think they're going to be able to wrap up the whole Infinity War thing in just one movie. Even if it is 3 hours long, they would have to rush a lot to be able to make this movie work. Maybe the first movie is going to be Thanos not getting the gauntlet or trying to get the gauntlet together, because there's no other movies to explain how he got all the rest of the stones, unless they're just going to say he has all of them and he has to get visions away from him or something like that, or one from the Guardians. But I feel like the first movie is going to be him trying to get the stones and kind of tanking everybody, and then the second movie is going to be about him with the gauntlet on and what he's going to be doing. We don't really know that much more about that. That's all we know. We know that moving forward, part of Phase 4 is going to be a Spider-Man sequel. It's going to be Spider-Man 2. We have no idea what it's going to be about. I've heard rumors about symbiotes. I've heard rumors about lesser popular characters, maybe the Sinister Six, maybe all sorts of other stuff. They don't need to do too much extra. So long as Spider-Man is in the MCU, it's going to keep his character popular. They're going to make money no matter what. I just don't want them to rush into something and throw like 20 villains at once. Sinister Six feels like it's kind of going to be like that, but it's okay to kind of do a Rogues Gallery movie and kind of have that, but just the lesser rogues. They don't need to go out with their big guns right at the beginning. This could be a nice trilogy, maybe even longer, 5-6 movies, and done right. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is supposed to come out. I didn't do a review for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but I did not like that movie. I talked about it a little bit. I talked about all the issues I had with it. Still to this day, do not like his father Ego turning into, sorry, the guy from Baywatch. I'm forgetting his name, David Hasselhoff. That really bugged me. There were a lot of scenes that were kind of cringeworthy. They were trying to force jokes on us and everything in Guardians 2. I'm not going to go ahead and do another review of Guardians 2, but basically Guardians 2 was not good. They thought bigger was better. They thought forcing jokes was good. Drax became a joke of a character. He used to be really interesting, and now he's just basically a joke of a character. And I don't like that. He's basically, oh, my nipples hurt, and you're ugly and stuff. And it's like, yeah, a little bit to play on it is fun, but overkill is basically what I kind of got from Guardians 2. So I kind of hope they clean it up a little. I do know that they think because it's a new movie they have to go bigger, and it always has to be bigger. But this is going to be on the aftermath of Infinity War. So that's basically Infinity War wrapped up. So now they can move on to the next adventure. And the next adventure doesn't have to be a great big epic. Although it could be epic, it doesn't have to be a big, great epic thing that happens. They're off in space, so they can kind of do their own thing, so it doesn't really matter that way. But I really want them to I want them to capture what they did in the first one and not what they did in the second one. That's basically what I want from that. Marvel overall, Marvel fatigue is kind of setting in for me a little bit. I do feel like a lot of these stories are in the same tone and in the same vein, and what I don't want is the Marvel formula where it's a different skin on top of the same formula. They kind of did that with Doctor Strange. He was basically like an Iron Man-esque character. It was just the changing of the skin, and I don't like that. I don't want Marvel fatigue, and I don't want to have to watch 20 million episodes before I can start watching the next episode. I want to be able to watch a movie and enjoy the movie and have it be basically compressed within itself to be a good movie onto its own, without having to rely on 20 other movies for you to understand what it is and what's going on and what's happening moving forward. I want these movies to be good. Each of them it doesn't have to be away from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The MCU can still be within it and then just have an Easter egg here and there without the whole story being a setup movie for a different story. Villains need to be stepped up for the MCU. One thing that I never really liked was the Marvel villains, because I feel like even in the comic books, they focus primarily on their heroes and their villains are a little bit lacking. There are some great Marvel villains and they haven't done them justice in the movies. In the movies, they need to step their game up. Their villains are very one-dimensional, and the ones who get built up get nerfed or get tanked, kind of like Ultron, kind of like Malekith. And I don't like that. They can make these characters a lot cooler, they can make them a lot better, and when you build them up this much, make the third act a big third act. I don't want to watch Thor Ragnarok and see Hela squashed like that. I want to see it be an actual big showdown, a lot of stuff going on, maybe 3-4 fights. It doesn't have to just happen in one scene where everything just ends. They even in Wonder Woman, they built up the whole thing, and I felt like Ares kind of existed throughout the whole thing and was shut down in the final thing, but the final thing lasted maybe 30-40 minutes. It doesn't have to finish in a 5-minute fight scene. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like even in Batman vs. Superman, they had that issue of Batman vs. Superman was built up the whole movie, and then the whole thing lasted maybe 10 minutes. They don't have to do that. They don't need to do that. They have great characters, they have great villains, they need to use them properly. Last thing I'm going to talk about for Marvel, for the MCU, this is my biggest issue with it. There are no stakes, there are no deaths, there's nothing that is meaningful. Agent Coulson died, he's back. Nick Fury died, he's back. Captain America died, he's back. Pretty much anyone you could think of who's died outside of Quicksilver has come back. And to be completely honest, Quicksilver was just brought to the screen, so nobody really cared about him. And you wasted a really good character. And I understand that maybe that was because the Fox movies have been doing Quicksilver a lot better in the X-Men, but still, it doesn't mean to kill that character off and he's the only one you've killed off. That's kind of important, and that means a lot, because that's something that you could death should be something that should be scary. If we know that at the end of the day, it's going to be a happy ending, everyone's going to come back, and it's not something where you're actually fearing that this is something that's going to actually go wrong. There was no point in Guardians of Galaxy 2 where I was like, they're not going to be able to win this. We knew they were going to be able to win this. We're just basically watching the story unfold for A, the jokes, B, the flashes, C, the fight scenes. And that's about it. And I don't want to watch a movie like that. I want to watch a movie where it feels like these characters are people that I care about and I'm scared for. And I really wanted that to kind of come through and us to feel that. Anyway guys, that's my review for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not my review, but my expectations. I do want some stuff to change. I really hope they deliver with these movies because the next slate of movies does look really, really good. Tell me what you...
This is the Markham Knight telling you to like, comment, and subscribe.